whereas the regulator was looking after the small guy. Now they've swapped positions, and the regulator wants to give only the spectrum to the big guys, and the policymaker only wants to allow for the small guys. And that's why we have the court case going on between them. Well, however it turns out, at the end of the day, some money, maybe not a minimum bid of 3 billion rand, but some money will be paid for that spectrum, and that money can go towards the cost.
Standing here next to one of the panelist members, William Stuckey. Welcome to Engineering TV.
Thank you, Lily.
First of all, what is digital terrestrial television?
Digital terrestrial television is television that's broadcast on land as opposed to satellite, and it's digital, like a computer, as opposed to analog, which is what we have at the moment, like an ordinary telephone.
And has it ever been successful in any other country in Africa?
Oh yes, Namibia's done it, for example. As Aldred told you about it. In fact, he and I were in the Gambia earlier this month to talk about their transition and to complete it for them. They've started. The chap who started it hasn't finished it. They only have 9 transmitters to do, but he's only done 2 of them.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
If you have a look at the rate set-top boxes are manufactured in places like China, you're not talking about 10,000 a month. That's more the measure for a minute. So you cannot compete with the margins that operators like that have or manufacturers like that have.
Standing here next to one of the panelist members, Gerhard Patrick. Welcome to Engineering TV.
Thank you.
Could you tell us some of the consumer benefits of DTT?
Well, the promise has always been more channels, better quality video. But the big challenge is that that's also offered by other platforms like satellite and connected platforms. So, and currently the list of the DTT channels is not easily published, so one doesn't know what's really available. Great technology, easier to install than satellite. Set-top box and a basic antenna would get you connected on DTT.
Is the average South African who lives in poor backgrounds, etc., able to afford this, or is it just limited to a certain range of people?
So government has a ownership incentive scheme for people that cannot afford it. So there's a way to register and be able to acquire a set-top box at no cost or at a small part payment. That solves the access problem. The challenge is mobilizing a nation to do the transition, and the importance is that if they don't do the transition, at some stage in future analog TV will disappear, so they'll have nothing to view unless they take the step soon.
Thank you very much.
Super, thanks.
Open up the market for broadcasters and for content operators to actually provide you as the viewer with a lot more choice.
I'm standing here next to one of the panelist members, Aldred Dreyer. Welcome to Engineering TV.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you, what impact will DTT have on the current way that we're doing things in South Africa?
The current impact in terms of the consumer, for the consumer it would mean more choice, so they can have access to a lot more channels, free channels, and if they have more money, and they can afford a subscription, they can buy a subscription. In terms of the broadcaster, it means they can run their distribution networks a lot cheaper, so they don't have to pay as much as running the analog networks currently. Currently, SABC has to pay for operating 3 different networks, whereas now they can only pay for operating 1 network nationally, and on that 1 network they can even have more than 3 channels. In terms of the regulator, you heard a lot today about the digital dividend. So it's the freeing up of spectrum for use of other services, broadband in particular.
What are some of the disadvantages that DTT brings to South Africa?
Disadvantages? It's a difficult question. I would say for the consumer is what do they choose? So there could be a variety of devices to go and select in the shop. They might make an uninformed choice in terms of what to buy, and that's why it's very important for all stakeholders in this process to clearly communicate to consumers and to educate the consumer as to what their choices are in the market. For broadcasters, it would mean they need to, that money they're saving on distribution costs, they would need to invest in producing more content and also buying more content. So for the broadcaster, they don't really win, because they would need to adapt and adjust their business models in order to provide more content to viewers, but they can manage that process. So is it a disadvantage? Yeah. In terms of government, currently there's a policy in place to promote local manufacturing of decoders. As you've heard tonight, that whole process is sort of on its head at the moment. There are a lot of court cases going on, and again, it's about money. It's about commercial interests in the decoder manufacturing game. And my honest opinion, government should never have gotten into getting into that process in the first place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a night full of so much insight. I've learned so much, and I hope you did too. From me, Khuluma Nglaskiti and Engineering TV, good night.